This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Well, the holidays are here, the Christmas tree is decorated, and it's time to do some holiday baking. Well, these cookies are a holiday must at my house. These are my gingerbread snowflakes. I'll show you how to make them and how to decorate them. So let's start making our gingerbread dough. What we need is a cup of butter, and what I do is I take the butter right out of the refrigerator and I cut it up into little cubes like this, and I find that it creams really well in the mixer. So I'm going to let this cream for just a minute or so, and then to the butter I'm going to add 1.5 cups of sugar. Then I'm going to add 1 egg. And the secret ingredient to my gingerbread is orange zest. And I'm going to take the zest off of 4 oranges. And it just adds a tremendous flavor with the spices. So go ahead and put your orange zest in. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of dark corn syrup. Now this is not molasses. It's a lighter flavor, but it helps give us that deep color that we want. So I'm gonna let this mix around, and then I'm gonna get my dry ingredients together. And for this, I'm gonna measure out 3 cups of flour. And to the flour, we're gonna add all kinds of great spices. So the first one we're gonna use is cinnamon, and I'm gonna measure out 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And then I'm gonna add a teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. Then I'm going to add 2 teaspoonfuls of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to get my whisk, and I really want to mix these ingredients well. It's important those spices and that leavening get dispersed all throughout the flour. Then I'm going to go back to the mixer, I'm going to turn it off, and I'm just going to go ahead and put all of the flour and spices right into the bowl. Then I'm going to turn the mixer on, and I'm just going to let this go on a low speed until it totally comes together like this. Now I'm going to do a final mix down with my spatula, and then it's time to get ready to chill this dough. All you have to do is take a piece of plastic wrap, divide the dough in half, and put half of the dough on one piece of plastic, and then you're just going to form it into a little disc like this, and you just do the same thing with the other half of the dough. And when you're done, you'll have 2 discs of dough, and those need to chill for at least 2 hours in the refrigerator. Now, when it's time to roll out, just take 1 disc of the dough out of the refrigerator, and you'll notice I have a couple of pieces of plastic wrap down on my countertop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the dough out on this. So just go ahead and unwrap your disc of dough and put it right in the center of this plastic. Then I'm going to take the plastic that the dough was wrapped in, and I'm going to put that on top along with a second sheet of plastic, because this isn't going to totally cover the dough. And then it's time to start rolling. So I've got this rolled out to about 1/4 of an inch in thickness. Then I'm just going to peel off that top piece of plastic, and you can see how beautifully that rolled out without any additional flour. And now it's time to cut out our cookies. Now I have a set of graduated snowflakes that I'm going to be using. Now for this cookie, you're going to want to use either a medium or a small cookie cutter, because they do spread a little bit when they bake. So just get a little dish of flour and take your cookie cutter and go through and cut as many cookies out as you can with this roll. Now when it comes time to transfer the cookies onto your parchment lined baking sheet, use a little spatula and slide it under. I find it's a really easy way to transfer the cookies onto the baking sheet. Now these cookies are going to spread, so make sure you don't load up the cookie sheet too heavily. With the medium-sized snowflake, I'm just going to put 6 on a sheet. Now these are going to go into a 375-degree preheated oven for about 8 minutes. Now when you go back to roll out more cookies, just take all the little remnants of your previous batch and just put them together in a disc and put the piece of plastic back on top and just roll them out like you did at the very beginning. Now for this next batch, I'm going to be using the small snowflake, so I will cook that for about a minute less than the medium size. So what you'll need to do is kind of just keep an eye on the cookies as they bake if you're going to be doing lots of different sizes. Now as my first batch comes out of the oven, you can see they've puffed up nicely, they've spread, which this is a nice size snowflake for the holidays, I think. I'm going to want to get them right off that cookie sheet so they can start to cool. And as they cool, they'll sink down and be nice and flat like this. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're choosing your cookie cutter, you will lose a little bit of definition when you bake, but don't worry, we make up for it when we decorate. So let's start making our decorating icing. Now I'm going to be using meringue powder, which is powdered egg whites. Now if you can't get a hold of powdered egg whites, I'll have an alternative for you on the recipe on the website. But for our purposes here today, I'm going to be using 3 tablespoons of meringue powder. And you'll notice I'm putting that in the mixer with my whisk attachment. And then I'm going to be adding 3 cups of powdered sugar, and I don't bother sifting it. Just put that right in with the meringue powder. Now I'm going to put this on a low speed, let those two things mix up, and then I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of warm water, and to add a little flavoring, I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of lemon extract. The lemon works great with the orange and the gingerbread. And then I'm going to lower that down, and I'm going to get that whisking together. And then after a minute or so, I'm going to scrape it down to make sure all the powdered sugar has gotten mixed in. And then I'm going to set the mixer on a high speed for 7 minutes. Now while the royal icing is mixing away, we're going to get our cake decorating supplies ready. So I'm going to use a disposable cake decorating bag and a number 4 round tip. Now when you use these bags, all you have to do is cut the end off with a pair of scissors and then slide the tip right down the center of it. It's a really quick and easy way to get started cake decorating. So my icing has been whisking around for 7 minutes. Look at the volume, and it's just a fabulous icing to pipe with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bag and I'm going to turn that like a cuff. It makes it easy to fill that way. And then I just take with my spatula and I push that right down into the bag. And I want to fill the bag up about halfway. Then I'm going to go ahead and bring that cuff up to the top, just like that. And then I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to kind of twist and twist, forcing that icing down into the tip. Now, this frosting will dry out, so I'm going to get a damp paper towel, put that on top with a little piece of plastic. That way it won't dry out while I'm decorating my cookies. So let me show you how I decorate these snowflakes. The first thing I do is I start drawing some lines, and I just go from side to side like this. Then I go ahead and in the center, I'm going to split each of those sections with just a little line like this. Then I'm going to go back, and on each of those little lines I made, I'm going to put a nice circle of frosting on the end, just like this. Now, when you're cake decorating, it's all about squeezing the frosting. So we've got our center done. Now we're going to make the ends of the snowflake. And what I do is on each of those lines, I make like a little V at the end, just like this. And then I go back on all of each of those ends and I do a nice dollop of icing. Now this is a really simple way, and you'll notice it's the icing that really delineates what this cookie is. I could have decorated it to look like a flower or a tree or anything else, but this is definitely a snowflake. Now we need to let this frosting sit out in the air a little bit, and it will get nice and hard. And then you can just store these for a week or two. Now, before I let you go, big news, I've been nominated for a Tasty Award honoring the best in food and fashion programming. I've been nominated for Best Home Chef in a series for my Farmers Market Gourmet show. Now, there is a viewer's choice part to this award, so if you'd like to vote, just go to our website and go to the cookie jar show notes, and I'll have a link there to the Tasty Awards. That'll take you right to the voting page. Now, voting does end on January 5th. Well, these gingerbread snowflakes are so festive, and the great thing is, because they're a snowflake, you can have them all winter long. Now, if you'd like to give this recipe a go, just go to our website, visit the cookie jar show notes. I'll have the recipe there for you. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. Happy baking, and I'll see you next time.